I think part of being a mom, unfortunately, is just like feeling guilty sometimes, but it's an emotion that walks in the room and you got to let it walk out because you don't deserve to feel that way all the time. Welcome to Seriously Selfish. I'm your host, Amanda Talajan. Welcome back to Seriously Selfish, everyone. Oh my gosh. Okay, so just so you know, this wasn't on purpose that we took a little break, but like things happened, life happened, and like sometimes you just gotta focus on what needs to be focused on. You know what I mean? But this is actually gonna be the season finale. This is what we decided because we have really exciting things happening in November for the pod. Very unexpected, but exciting. And I just need a little bit of time to regroup. Also, I don't know if anyone else can relate to this, but I feel like fall has like hit me straight in the gut. Like I didn't realize how much summer was I was really in this specific vibe. Like we were go all summer. It was a relaxing summer because I enjoyed everything that we were doing, but we weren't home very much. And now that the weather's getting colder, there were just like so many things that needed to be taken care of. And so it's nice to like have something end and start fresh. And like with any creative project, I'm looking at this as like a growing and learning opportunity. The podcast was like truly out of just like passion and wanting to expand business further. And I feel like I've learned a lot doing this first season. It's been weeks. Like it's not just me behind this, it's other people as well, other people's time, and everybody's shown up. And it's been like such an enjoyable experience to work with other people because I feel like a lot of times in creative things that I've done, I've been kind of like solo dolo, and it's nice to just be surrounded by people who are creative and have input and then also working as part of a team. So this will be the finale wrap up of the last, I don't know, what's it been, 3 months? Longer than that. Everything to me, everything's 3 months. No, I think it's been like 6 months. Yeah, we've been here every week and we've been talking about things and diving in, and you got to meet more people in my family, and it's just been nice also to have conversations in a longer form of them and be able to express myself. So as always, like so appreciative of anyone who's been here and engaged in the content, because it's just nice to be able to express myself and work towards wherever I'm going, wherever the fuck that is. I don't know. I'm just going to say that I think when the podcast started, Jazz wasn't even 2, and now like we've been through 2 and now we're here. And something I read recently that I found so interesting and very much spot on, it said that every 3 months your life changes. And like with kids, and it said like every 3 months they need new things, we as people need new things. I didn't fully like do a deep dive into the data and research of all of this, but the little bit that I took I found really interesting, which was saying that we get into these patterns. Sometimes it's seasonal, sometimes it's just like time of life, and for 3 months we can kind of like stay on this same road, and then usually something will come up where we kind of need to like deviate course. And I was thinking about how specifically from 1 to 2 I was so focused on leaps, because I feel like before my eyes I was watching Jazz change all the time continuously. And then also like from being postpartum 1 year to 2 years, I also felt my body starting to change more and more and more in like a more drastic way. It was now I reached that 1 year mark, and the coming back to myself felt like little bit by little bit, part of this shell that I had developed was like cracking away, and I was the new form of myself was starting to reveal. And now that we're here, like making it to 2, I feel like I had all these grand realizations, which still wholeheartedly like stand by the ones that I had when he turned 2. But now I feel like we're changing again, and in the best way, you know, like he's talking a lot more than he was before, and Jazz is learning French and English, so like a lot of times with his speech, like I feel like he's always just like a little bit on a different wavelength than maybe another kid his age. And so I think that now he's finally reached a new place with his speech that he feels even less frustrated than he was before. And the way that he can describe things or explain things to Dimitri and I, because he is starting to now, this is like the 2 weeks now, he's been starting to say some words in French where before he wasn't saying really any. And I'm seeing him feel so confident. Like he responds, he knows he's saying the right word, and he has this confidence and he's like smiling. And so I feel like now we're in another new place. And so whenever I think he's in a new place, I assess myself to see where I'm at, what's changed, whatever. Also, if you hear any type of banging, my husband is outside chopping wood because that was what he needed to do right now. I guess the point of all of this is that in some weird way, when I first had Jazz, I thought to myself that I couldn't wait to find like even ground. And I remember that being something like I was looking back at one of my journals and it was like, I just can't wait for everything to settle. And if I could go back and like meet myself again, and even to anybody who I meet who's going to be a first time mom, I always say like the settling part does happen. Yeah, sure. Like things start to feel like your normal life, but that's actually not the most exciting part, which is what I thought it would be. That settled feeling was the most exciting part. That the real excitement for me is in the fact that everything is constantly growing and changing. Like being able to observe someone continuously grow and become more grounded in their like consciousness and humanness, as you see with a child, I feel like it has been one of the biggest like inspirations of my life, because I'm just watching him develop all of these things and I find him so inspiring. Like when he tells me that he doesn't want something, he means it. And it's just like so interesting to know that 7 months ago, 8 months ago, he didn't really know what he wanted. He was just kind of uncomfortable all the time because he couldn't really express himself. And he still felt like would get overwhelmed like a lot of the time because he couldn't just pick something. And now like he's experiencing things in the way where he can tell me very spot on, like I want this and I don't want that, sometimes to a point where, what the fuck do you mean? That's what you want. And no, we can't do that. But at the same time, it's so cool to just like watch him developing into this person who has a point of view and opinions about things. Crazy ones, like really bizarre ones. But at the same time, like that's so wild. I was thinking about this because recently we saw some old friends and I hadn't seen them in a while. And it brought me back to like the place I was when we were all like, you know, seeing each other on a daily basis and stuff. And I'm like, fuck, I'm not the same person anymore, like at all, than I was then. And if I would have said that like 2 years ago or 2.5 years ago, I would have been so upset about that. And a friend of mine recently said to me, like we were talking and he was like, you're such a mom. And I was like, I fucking am such a mom. And I was like, I am. And I think that whatever happens in between, like when you have your first child and that moment where you finally start to just embrace that the change is actually so liberating and to let go of what it was before, is only when you can start to have the parts of yourself that are never going to go away because they're just so fundamentally you, and then this whole new form that you're growing into like completely merge together. And that's something that I tell anyone who's going to be a new mom, or, you know, who's like, I really miss my old self. It's like all of those feelings are supernatural. The reality is that you can't go back. And the true freedom comes, the freedom that you're looking for, because in the beginning, everything's so overwhelming and all you want to do is just feel that little bit of like, breathing easy and that freedom and not feeling so confused all the time. And that comes when you go through enough things in your parenthood journey, which new things happen every single day, but you start to get enough of those things happening to you where you realize that you know what the fuck you're doing. You know what I mean? Even when you don't know, when you have to look it up or whatever, or you're confused, you do know, and you start to trust that intuition and it like awakens in you. And then that feeling is so much more powerful than going back and trying to find something that can't ever be again, you know? And then so you start to then re-evaluate like the interests that you have and like what things you're missing in your life, and try and be this like happiest, healthiest, best version of yourself. And with that come things that probably existed before. And that's where I feel like I am now, have been for a little while, but like specifically now, there's like things that I'm like, oh my God, I've always loved that. And then there's new things where I'm like, oh, this is what I like to do now. And I feel so much more certain. And that certainty is very much inspired by my toddler's certainty about life. And I don't know if this is like people pleasers unite in this statement, but I have realized over time that I spent a lot of years doing things that maybe I didn't really want to do and kind of appeasing other people and not always focusing on where, like, what the fuck do you want? You know, like, what do you want? And watching him in this tiny body and like so new to the world, being able to be so decisive about what he wants, I'm like, we all do really start out so certain about things. I'm so curious about later, you know, like when he's 10 or 15, like some of the things that he loves now, like will he still love them then or whatever? But that energy that he has where he's kind of like able to choose between things so certainly, I think that we all really have that inside, and over time we try and like mold ourselves into being something that's going to be more digestible to the world, specifically as women. And I don't even think that I really like saw it that way until I was like watching him, and I was like, it's actually so unnatural to be so yes and whatever you want about things. The most natural thing to do is to know what you want and make that decision accordingly. And so what was it? I was reading something. I'm always reading something and never have the reference for it, but it was saying like how when they start like real school, you know, when they're like in kindergarten and like first, second, third grade, they start to then realize that other people may not think things that they think are cool. Like, so you'll see kids who maybe like they love to wear, you know, trucks on their shirt. And then someone says like, oh, I don't like trucks, I like this. And then they come home and they're like, I don't want my truck t-shirts anymore. And I know that those moments are going to come for him in his life, because we all, like, at the end of the day, want community and belonging, and we want to fit in and be like part of a pack. But at the same time, I really hope that I have the like tools to be able to give him the courage to always love what he loves and know that it's okay to be different, and to not always have to like find the same passions as other people. It doesn't mean that his is corny or dumb or whatever. And I wish that I knew that sooner, because I feel like I knew it, I lost it, and now I'm just kind of like, I don't give a fuck. I don't care. You hate my hair. Oh my God, I'm going to cry. I don't care. You hate my makeup. You hate my outfits. You don't think I'm funny. Like I don't know, whatever the fuck you don't like. It's like, if I like it, I like it. Obviously not if I'm being an asshole and like, you know, call me out, sure. But at the end of the day, those superficial things that just bring us a little bit of joy because, you know, decorations or the clothes that we wear or whatever, and it's not trending or cool, it's just kind of like abandoning that whole part of ourselves and like leaning into the truth, which is the only way that you find real freedom is knowing who you are, what you like, what you stand for, and being okay with not always being accepted for that, because you're not supposed to, because you're going to inspire somebody else to accept themselves in that same way. And that's what my toddler has taught me all this time, all these realizations, ultimately like bringing me to this place where I'm like, you know what, being so decisive is natural and trying to fit in is unnatural, and it's why it always creates for so much confusion within our identity. And yeah, that's like my biggest takeaway from him. Other than that, like life right now, I feel like everything feels really calm. Like after my birthday in September, I don't know what happened to me. I feel like I'm getting shot with like a B12 shot every day. Like I wake up and I feel like so much more tranquil. Like even yesterday, we were painting pumpkins. I don't know why the fuck I thought that was a good idea, because I was already super overstimulated and like genuinely on like hour 11 of like being by myself with him. And I was like, you know what? We're gonna paint pumpkins. That seems like a really good idea. So we go to paint the pumpkins. Obviously it was cold outside, so we did it inside. Another really smart idea on my end. As per usual, he found every way to do something with the paint that just was not putting it on the pumpkin. And you know what? First of all, it pissed me off because I'm like, why the fuck do I see everybody doing crafts with their kid and their kid's just sitting there like painting so nice, and my kid's gonna be like, can I eat it? Can I put it on my neck, on the wall? And he's looking at me asking. He's like, neck? I'm like, no. He's like, mouth? No. Eye? No. Mama face? No. What the fuck? Put it on the pumpkin. And I'm like, why don't we just try and put it on the pumpkin? Look, I'm gonna paint on the pumpkin. You can even do it with your fingers, even though that's sending chills down my fucking spine. You can do it with your fingers if you want to, and then rub it on the pumpkin. Whatever you're gonna do, just put it onto the pumpkin. Table, you know what? Yeah, the table's covered. Put it on the table. But that's the thing. You give them an inch, they take a fucking mile. So then he's like on the table and he's on the pumpkin, and then he slowly put it on his neck. And then he's looking at me, which like, this is really something that I still haven't figured out. This child hates being dirty, but continuously does these really dirty things. So he puts paint all over his face, and then he's like, oh, dirty, clean up, but like singing clean up. And I'm like, oh my God, you're like totally passing out right now, singing the cleanup song. Meanwhile, you're still rubbing it all over your face. So as you can assume, tensions are like rising. Okay. And I'm now covered in paint too, because I'm showing him that he can use his fingers. So, and I'm looking around at the white walls and I'm like, oh, it's about to go down. And so I said to him, okay, here's what you're going to do. You're going to freeze here. I'm going to get something to clean you up. And he's like, okay, literally said, okay. And I don't know why in my head, it still hasn't clocked to me that even when he says, okay, like that doesn't mean that he's going to listen. Call me naive. Anyways, I come back in the room, God, like a cat, you know, I didn't hear a thing. I turn around and I literally went to the kitchen. I could kind of see him, but I couldn't. You know what I mean? So silently was up over at the window and the wall, and he's rubbing his hands. And I was like, Jazz, stop. And he was having the fucking time of his life. And he was like, no, mama, he was trying to do something. Wow. I lost my shit. I was like, I just like, I turned to a flame. I like lost my mind. And then he's crying and like I yelled, okay? Like, I don't want anybody to assume. I yelled at a very high pitch and was like, oh my God, we have to stop. Like, it was one of those. He's crying. I start crying because then I'm like, oh my God, you're fucking him up. You're fucking everything up. Now he's going to hate pumpkins. He's going to hate fall. He's going to fucking hate Halloween. And you suck. And like, you're the one who started this and you didn't have the mental capacity for this project and like whatever else. Anyway, long story short, like we go leave the room, we wash our hands, we clean up. And then I told him like, I'm so sorry. Like, that was not okay. I should not have yelled at you. It's not your fault. I understand. He was trying to like open the door because Glico was outside. Like once I clocked like what he was actually trying to do, I was like, oh, he like really was trying to help. And like, you know, it was just one of those situations where I'm like, what the fuck, you're drawing on everything with paint. And in his mind, he's like, I'm helping mama because we're cleaning up. And it was just like, it made me feel like a piece of shit, like less than shit, like disgusting, just awful, terrible, all the things. And then he looked at me and he was like, okay, like it's okay. And then he was like rubbing my face and we were hugging and he was like, clean up. Like after he was like, clean up, I was like, yeah, like let's go back and clean up. And like, I'm going to chill out, you know, like fuck it. If something gets on the wall, it gets on the wall, which like, again, why was that even such a big deal in the beginning? I don't know, because I was strung out and just like not having a good day and super overstimulated, but like whatever. And then he went to bed that night. And like, after he went to sleep, I laid in my bed and I fucking cried because I was like, oh my God, this is terrible. You know, like it just makes you feel so disgusting and bad and awful because you're just like, they don't deserve it. So then I like got to this conclusion where I'm like, all right, here's the deal, right? This is me to me. I'm like, you're not a robot, you're a person. Sometimes you're like having a day. Sometimes you're overstimulated. Sometimes you're going to freak the fuck out. Like it hurts more because this is just a small person who you're responsible for, who genuinely has no impulse control and like you're their world and like you don't want to disappoint them. So it hurts more. But like I've yelled at my mom, it's made me feel like shit. I've yelled at Dimitri, it's made me feel like shit. And the list goes on. It hurts more because it's our child child, and because we know that we're supposed to be setting this example. But at the end of the day, the truth exists, which is that we're not robots, and sometimes we're gonna like lose it. And the key is really just creating that secure attachment, which only comes from us repairing when the rupture happens. I'm not using rupture and repair as an excuse for me to do whatever the fuck I want. I just think that it is such an important point to note that like it exists for a reason, because it is part of growth. It's part of their growth. It's part of our growth. And it is absolutely just asinine to me to hold ourselves to a standard of perfection. You're not perfect. You'll never be perfect. You can't be perfect. You don't deserve to hold yourself to that standard, because it's not fucking real. And then you become super neurotic, and then you become someone who suppresses everything, and then later on you become resentful. I said what I said, and I stand by that. So if you disagree, that's totally fine. But for me personally, like, I am a human being. I'm not a robot, and I don't need to be perfect all the time for me to be the best mom that I can be. And so all this to say that you're doing amazing. You don't need to ever question yourself when you truly are showing up every single day and giving the best that you can. We know when we're not giving our best. We know when we're being lazy. We know when we're making excuses for ourselves. At the end of the day, this job is so fucking hard. No one can do it the same way that you can, and you are capable of more than you know, as I'm sure you have seen over the years of being a parent to this child, because every year I feel like we realize how much more capable we are. But to be the best parents we can, we have to give ourselves grace, acceptance, and also know what we need to be the most successful. My takeaway from that day is, when I'm fucking overstimulated and maybe on like the last leg of solo parenting for a few days in a row, let's not pull out the paints. Okay, let's go outside and breathe air. That's one that I'm taking away from that. And also, yeah, it feels really shitty, but I think I did everything that I possibly could to like make my way back to him and just like really tune in, and also remember it's not that fucking serious. Okay, you can always repaint a wall white. Like, get over it. But yeah, we are learning and growing at the same time that they are. It feels more serious for us because we're supposed to know better. But at the end of the day, we're doing this for the first time too. And I think that's given me grace for myself. It's also given me grace for like my parents. Like, I'm like, they still are first time parents to me. They've never had a kid my age. This is their first grandchild. Like, we're all just learning, you know? That can only work when you have strong boundaries and you understand what is absolutely unacceptable in your life, to have this kind of open-mindedness to everybody. But once you like kind of start to solidify those boundaries, and then you start to be able to have this like grace for yourself and growth and understanding, and fully comprehend the growth and give yourself the understanding that you need, is when I think that you start to like lean in, and it makes more room for everybody's emotions. And when the hard days come, it just lets them stay as a hard day and not then trickle over into a week and this guilt that just kind of like lives within, you know? It comes in and it goes out. I think part of being a mom, unfortunately, is just like feeling guilty sometimes, but it's an emotion that walks in the room and you got to let it walk out, because you don't deserve to feel that way all the time. And yeah, that's really all I got today. I hope it wasn't word salad. It made sense in my mind. I've been journaling again, so sometimes talking to people out loud is different than me just sitting there like writing all my thoughts, which like highly suggest. I'm on this new vibe now where I wake up in the morning and I don't look at my phone and I start to journal, which I used to do back in the day when I had all my brain cells. It is actually really helping. So just so you know. It works. Crazy. I know they tell us, but it's true. Thanks for an amazing first season of the pod. I'm so excited for what's to come next. And I think this will come out next week. So I hope everyone had an amazing Halloween. I'm a little nervous. I'm a little nervous for Halloween. I feel like it's either going to go like super well, or he's going to be losing his absolute mind, because he doesn't really like when people wear masks and are dressed up. So we'll see how that goes. But I hope everyone has a great Halloween. I hope you're feeling supported and loved. And just know that you got it and you're never alone. And yeah, concluding season 1. And don't forget to stay seriously selfish. Bye.